He sold it. What is it that when we get to a certain height in business, they give us an offer that we can't refuse? Then what gave pride to black people is now in the hands of white people, and the dynamic of that business changes. It's because business is warfare.
You have to be very careful of what you allow your children to see on the media. You yourself have to be very careful of how you use the media. See, most of our people have no idea of how the media should and is used, because it is very, very dangerous. It is extremely dangerous. The whole idea of producing like is real.
Again, and today we will be discussing why Bill Cosby tried to buy NBC, right? We got to discuss that because it's a very, very important lesson in this story, and we must look into this story to gain more knowledge, right? So let's start here. When you look at media, you have to understand that media plays a huge role in the human's perception on life, right? You have to understand that media plays a huge role on the way that people see things. Now, it's very tricky because in one instant you're being told that, it's just a movie, right? It's just a TV show, right? It's just music, right? You're being told that, but in reality, it's not true, right? It's not just a movie. It's not just a TV show. It's not just music, right? It's not just music. Media teaches people how to view other people all around the world. You see, this is why it was so important for the European to paint Jesus, the depiction of Jesus, to look like him. You have to understand this, right? It was very, very important for the European, when he was conquering and whitewashing history, to make Jesus look like him, right? Because that deals with media and the subconscious mind, right? So it's not just a film, it's not just a TV show, right? It's not just a music video. It's not just lyrics. These things shape opinion. These things shape opinion on how you see people. It does, subconsciously, right? A horror film deals with low frequency vibrations, and that's why the music in a horror film plays such a huge role. When you think of Jaws, you think of the music. It takes you into low vibration. It drops you into a low vibration. And you know it's just a film, right? 1978 Halloween, one of the score is what makes the film, so deal with so much, horror, is the score of the film also. The score that Michael Myers slaughtered people to, it dropped the audience into a low frequency. So it's vibrations and all of these things factor in, right? So it's not just music, it's not just film, it's not just a TV show. And I'm trying to drill this point home to you because when you understand this, when you understand the power of how media magic works, right? Then you can now see the big picture of what is going on, right? Of what is going on in your community. And you may see how media may play a huge role, right? The depictions of you, right? The characters of you. So, um, this is one thing that, you know, the white filmmaker and the white musician has always understood a little bit more than the black creator, right? That you cannot you can use media to um draw things that are not real, right? They don't have to be real. They don't have to be real. That's the power of the media magic, right? That it doesn't have to be real. I can draw myself into space. I can put myself on the moon. I can make myself the hero, right? I can make myself the first cowboy. I can put myself in Egypt, right? In ancient Egypt. I can put myself in Mesopotamia, ancient Mesopotamia, right? I can draw myself as Jesus, right? This is what you can do with the media magic, right? Cowboys and Indian films. Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood is a director that usually deals with the white hero. The white man is the hero, right? And you have a film like The Mule where the Mexicans are the criminals. Gran Torino where you know the blacks are the the I can't say the word but it starts with an R. The Asians are the criminals. This is how you use media magic, right? This is how you use media magic to shape the minds of the audience and shape the minds of the world on how you want them to view these people, right? That's why when you look at even black classics like Menace to Society, you have to understand that although it is a classic, it drew you as a criminal, right? The a menace to the whole society is the young black man, right? Around the time where Hillary Clinton was saying these are super predators, right? You had the film come out called, you know, Menace to the Society. You are the menace to the society. That's what the film was telling you. And then it shows you inside the film, uh, you know, taking out, robbing stores, right? Robbing cars, slaughtering each other, right? And then that film goes all around the world, and then people see that, and then, this is how they see you. So media magic plays a huge role. You have to understand that even when you deal with Nazi Germany dealt with media. One of the first things that Hitler tried to do was deal with media by demonizing the Jewish people, their image, right? Dirtying up the image, right? And making the Germans' image be seen as the victims, right? This is magic. This is media magic that we are dealing with, right? So this plays a role for many years as Black Americans were inserted into films. You were the nanny, right? The nanny, driving Mrs. Daisy. You were showing your teeth. The slave. These were roles that you were, right? In poverty, and you had brothers like JJ, Dynamite, showing your teeth. Yeah, Good Times had great lessons in it. But, many people felt like, by that time it was in the 70s, it was getting to the point where some blacks were successful. So why do we have shows like Sanford and Son where it shows, blacks in poverty, right? Good Times, blacks in poverty, right? And a young Bill Cosby was seeing this, right? And he knew the power of media magic, and he wanted to change that narrative, right? He wanted to change that narrative of how people were seeing black Americans, because he knew that it was not totally true. He knew that it was black Americans that were doing great things in America, right? And he wanted to use his media magic power to draw this. He didn't like the images of the pimp, right? The black exploitation film that was underway in the 70s, right? In the 60s, late 60s, 70s. Superfly, right? The Mac. Films like this depicting the black woman as a hoe, the black man as a pimp gangster, right? Depicting black families struggling. He wanted to show black Americans that were doing well in America, because many were. He wanted to show that, some black Americans are doing well in America, and that needed to be seen. That needed to be seen because that wasn't highlighted. And the goal of that was for him to show you that so you would become that. You have to understand what I'm saying. See, many black filmmakers, such as John Singleton, let's deal with the great legendary John Singleton, focused on keeping it real in his films, right? The Hughes brothers, we want to keep it real, man. We want to show how raw it is in the streets. We want to keep it real, right? They didn't understand necessarily that film and the media magic is not always about keeping it real, right? One of the powers of the magic is that it doesn't have to be real, right? You supposed to draw it in so people see it and want to become it, right? I draw it in and people want to become it, right? So every year that we are getting into a conflict, a war film drops, a patriotic war film drops, right? And that's to make Americans see that and say, man, I should be a patriot like this, right? That's why when we was in all those conflicts in the 70s, in the 80s, you had so many war films, right? You had so many war films coming out going all the way from Vietnam to Desert Storm, right? And then in 2001, you had more war films coming out, and these films made people want to say, hey, I may want to join the army or the military, right? And be a patriot like the guy in this film. So you have to understand that that's the power of media magic. You draw it and people become it. So if you draw gangster films, people become that. If you draw gangster lyrics, people become that. Even if you put a lesson in the end, like Menace Society had a lesson at the end, Boys in the Hood had a lesson at the end, but many don't understand the lesson. They don't hold on to that part. They hold on to the part where they letting off the Mac 10 in the parking lot. They hold on to the blood crip element. They hold on to Kane getting revenge for Harold. They hold on to that. Nigga, you trying to kick knowledge? Nigga, give me that. Give me your watch. Order me a burger with cheese. They hold on to that. They don't hold on to the lesson in the end that, Kane died. Kane died, man. That was the lesson. But they don't hold on to that part, right? They don't hold on to that. Doughboy died. But they don't hold on to that. They hold on to Doughboy dumping the, hopping out the drop. Hopping out the drop and running down on his man for his brother. They hold on to that. They make fun of They make fun of Trey when Trey said, "Yo, let me out the car, though." They make fun of that element, right? So you have to understand that even though these films were about keeping it real, you know, many people didn't hold on to that lesson. Many people saw that and wanted to become that. Many people saw that and wanted to become that. You know, as I was a kid, I never could watch films like Roots, right? When I would watch a film like Roots, not Roots, pardon self, but Roots was a tough watch for me also. But a film like Rosewood, right? Rosewood, which was also created by John Singleton, it was hard for me to watch the blacks suffer. Right there, I felt that pain, even though it was just a movie. I felt that pain when they burned down Big Mama house and they slaughtered Big Mama. Right? That was traumatic. That was a horror film for me. As even as a child, when I watched that film, it was like, man, damn, I resonated with the black characters, right? When we used to watch a horror film growing up, and it was only one black character in the film, you resonated with that character, and you knew he was gonna goddamn get slaughtered, probably first. You know what I'm saying? I get slaughtered the worst way. So, when we watch films like Set It Off, right? Set It Off. I thought about it one day. I said, it's never been a film where 4 white women, not outside of the horror genre, right? Where 4 white women are just gunned down by the police. Just back to back to back to back. Women with children, black women with children gunned down by the police. Set It Off is a horror film. It's a horror film. And it was written by, I can't remember his name. He's a great legendary director also. He did Friday. He helped with Friday. Now, anyway, back to the lesson, right? So these films and these TV shows, they have power. They have power over the subconscious mind, right? You have to understand that. So when people see things, they want to become it subconsciously, right? We used to watch Men in Society, even as kids, and I'd be like, "Yo, I'm Kane," and my homeboy be like, "I'm Old Dog," right? That's how we seen it. These niggas was cool, right? Niggas cool. So when you see it, even if you put a lesson in the film, the average person that's watching that, when they see that, the lesson they walking away from it is, I want to be that. So as black directors and TV shows will keep focusing on keeping it real, it's pimps going on. We did have pimps in our community, right? Superfly was a real thing, but when the TV shows promoted that, black men wanted to become that. Right? And that was the power of the media. So Bill Cosby seen this, right? And he wanted to get into creating TV shows where he can draw black families as successful, black families that get along, black families that are doing well, right? Black families that are doing great. And one mom is a doctor, the dad is a lawyer, right? The dad is a lawyer, the mom is a doctor, right? The daughters are going to college, right? And living in a brownstone in Harlem. Now, many people said, "Man, y'all, I can't relate to the Cosby Show because it wasn't real, man. It wasn't real. I couldn't feel that. I didn't live like that." And I understand, but you have to understand that the point of the show was for you to watch the show and want to become that. And also for people outside of the black community to watch the show and say, "Wow, yo, look at these black people. Even if it's not real, right? The subconscious mind does not know the difference between real and fake. So when they watch the show and they see Bill Cosby and they see this black family that gets along, this black father that's in his kids' lives every single day, black mom that is going to work, working hard, coming home, being a great figure for her kids, sending all these kids off to school, to college, right? This was impressive, and it made people realize, it made people see black people in a different light. That was the power of the show, right? So Bill Cosby set out to change the narrative with his media. And even though it was not real to some people, they did not understand that the power of media shapes perceptions. It shapes perceptions. So the Cosby Show from 1984 to 1992 did this. It helped improve black life in America because many blacks wanted to become this type of family, and it was a boom that was taking place in the 80s, right? In the 80s in Black America, in the 90s, in the 80s and the 90s of Black Americans coming into wealth, coming into college. It was a college boom because even Bill Cosby, who is a college graduate himself, and always gave lots of money to HBCUs, right? He came up with a show called A Different World, which was a spinoff of The Cosby Show. It was a spinoff of The Cosby Show, right? And it was about his daughter going off to college, to a HBCU. And what this did was create a economic boom at the HBCUs. At the HBCUs, all black kids started wanting to go to the HBCU, right? Around the time of A Different World was coming out, 1987, right? And then Spike Lee even helped with that, assist with that, with School Days, the film School Days, right? So you had media depicting blacks going to HBCUs, and then in real life, they did it. Do you see how media works? Do you see the power of media? Do you see the power of media? Right? When you create it, whether it's real or it's fake, when the people see it, they want to become it. Bill Cosby knew this. This is what he knew, right? And from the Cosby Show, you got other black family shows like Family Matters, right? Other black shows like Family Matters. So from 1984 to 1992, Bill Cosby is creating a show which is putting, and it's a top show at the time. It's one of the most popular black shows at the time, right? And it's depicting the image of black Americans as something positive, a active father, a successful mother, a successful children. Nobody's going to jail. Everybody's going to college. And as a result, we are seeing black Americans live up to this standard that's being created in media, right? And again, after that, he created the show Different World, which also helped assist send more black American kids to the HBCU, right? So this is the power of media, right? Now, Cosby created another show in 1992 called Here and Now, right? And it was him and Michael J. Warner, I believe that was his name. Malcolm Jamal Warner. I should know that, right? Showing my age a little bit. Malcolm Jamal Warner, right? So he took Malcolm Jamal Warner with him to create this new show called Here and Now, where Malcolm Jamal Warner was a teacher that was coming back to his school, his childhood school in Harlem, and wanting to help, you know, develop, develop these children that were in this impoverished neighborhood. And it was a good show, and it was, it was to help, you know, change, keep the image of black positivity going, right? Because something started happening in the 19 Cosby Show started in 1984, and it went from 1987. You had Different World, and then in 1992 the Cosby Show ended, and then Cosby created Here and Now. But what was happening and what was changing to combat Cosby now was gangster rap and gangster film was taking over. Gangster rap and gangster film was beginning to take over in 1992, right? In 1991 and 1992, right? What was going on in the late 70s and the 80s, which made Cosby want to get in the first place, because all the blaxploitation films were taking over the black man's image and the black woman's image, drawing them as pimps and hoes, right? Now, gangster rap was taking over, and it was disrupting Cosby's plan for the black image, right? Because you had films dropping like 1991, you had New Jack City. 1991, you had Boys in the Hood. 1993, you had Menace to Society. 1992, you had South Central, right? You had 1992, you had Ice Cube, Death Certificate. You had so many gangster rappers beginning to take over, right? NWA was taking over. The conscious rap was dying out. It was gone. It was getting ready. It was dying out, and it was the Public Enemy era was ending, and the NWA era was taking off. Right, the NWA era was taking off, and the gangster rap was taking off, and it took off, and to this day, it's still going on, right? But Cosby was trying to get in front of this with this last show that he was trying to create in 1992, which was Here Now, him and Malcolm Jamal Warner, right? But it was canceled. After his first season, it was canceled, right? People didn't want to watch it anymore. People didn't want to watch black positive shows anymore like that. And Cosby took offense to that because, he didn't like that his show was canceled. He hated that his show was canceled. And this made Cosby realize, man, you know what? The only way for me to really have a power in controlling black media magic is to own. I need to own, because right now I'm creating, but I need to own these networks. If I own the network, then I can control the media. I can control the way that the world sees black Americans, and I can control what black Americans see so that they want to become this, right? If I draw them as gangsters, they will become gangsters. If I draw them as hoes, they will become hoes. But if I draw them as doctors, they will become doctors. If I draw them as lawyers, they'll become lawyers. If I tell them to go to college, they'll go to college through the media. Through the media. Bill Cosby knew this. And he had to make a power move after his show was canceled because allegedly it was a little too conscious for this era, right? For this era. So Cosby set out to try to buy NBC, right? Cosby set out to try to buy NBC so he could control the image of black Americans, right? He wanted to control that. We got to combat it, right? So as he gets ready to buy NBC, because NBC is for sale, and, Cosby has the money, he begins to become more vocal about the state of black Americans and TV shows and rap music. And, he's calling out how black Americans' image is not right, and, this and that's going on. He's coming down like an elder would. The elders critiquing the image of the black American, and many black Americans took offense to Cosby at this time. They was like, Yo, this old nigga don't know what he talking about. He dissing us. Right? It's the same way that Dolores Tucker that marched with Dr. King, she was coming at the image. She knew the power of the black image also. And that's why she was trying to get in front of the gangster rap. That ain't good for our image, man. That's gonna make the brothers when reach back like a pimp slap though. Right? If that go platinum and all the kids repeat it, the women gonna be getting disrespected and getting slapped. Domestic violence gonna rise. Dolores Tucker knew this, and that's why she tried to fight it too, right? But Tupac and KRS-One and all of them, they dissed her. They dissed the elder. They didn't see the vision that the elder seen. See, the elder knows who she's dealing with, because the elder comes from a time where racism was overt, right? Overt. But 1992, 1993, the racism was a little bit more covert, right? And young blacks are making money off this, off this entertainment business, depicting themselves as gangsters and drug dealers, and they say, yo, we keeping it real. What's the problem? We getting paid. What's the problem? But the elders like Cosby, like Dolores Tucker, they knew the game. They knew that they gonna rob y'all. They gonna rob y'all. They gonna rob y'all. And on top of that, they making y'all say y'all own people out. They making y'all say y'all own people out through the image. So one person get rich, but the rest of us, our image is crushed. If you want to get it, do it the right way, right? So Cosby's coming hella critiquish at many people in the community. And the community, doesn't like it, in our own neighborhood, we have men in prison. No longer is a person embarrassed because they're pregnant without a husband. No longer is a boy considered an embarrassment if he tries to run away from being the father of an unmarried child. Ladies and gentlemen, the lower economic and the church is only open on Sunday. And you can't keep asking Jesus to keep doing things for you. You can't keep asking that God will find a way. God is tired of you. God was there when they won all the cases, 50 in a row. That's where God was, because these people were doing something and God said, I'm going to find a way. I wasn't there when God said it. I'm making this up, but it sounds like what God would do. This is Cosby. We cannot blame white people. White people don't live over there. They close up the shop early. The Korean ones still don't know us as well. They stay open 24 hours. I'm looking and I see a man named Kenneth Clark. He and his wife, Mamie. Kenneth's still alive. I have to apologize to him for these people because Kenneth said it's straight. He said you have to strengthen yourselves and we've got to have that black dog. And everybody said it. Julian Bond said it. Dick Gregory said it. All these lawyers said it. And you wouldn't know that anybody had done a damn thing. Ladies and gentlemen, the lower economic and lower middle economic people are not holding their end of this deal. In the neighborhood that most of us grew up in, parenting is not going on. In the old days, you couldn't hooky school because every drawn shade was an eye, and before your mother got off the bus into the house, she knew exactly where you had gone, who had gone into the house, and where you got or whatever you had, where you got it from. Parents don't know that today, right? So this is some of Cosby's quotes as Cosby is critiquing the community. Nothing that he's saying is wrong. It's just harsh, And you have to understand that black Americans are a group, even black people in general are a group that you have to talk to nice. Talk to me nice. You got to talk to niggas nice. You can't tell. I have learned this over time, try to help brothers get their life together. I used to be the same way, but you don't want the message to come at you wrong. Right? You telling them, hey man, hey bro, come on, get your shit together, man. Y'all, it's you, man. It's you. You got to say it nicely. Our brothers gonna get offended, right? And Cosby's message, even though it was true, it didn't make brothers feel well. It didn't make sisters feel well, because that makes a person go look in the mirror and deal with self, right? So as Cosby's coming down on the community, because he's like, yo, why y'all supporting the nonsense? Y'all doing this, right? y'all not seeing the big picture, right? Cosby becomes frustrated and he begins to critique the community. Yo, it's all the communities turning into thugs. The women, the teenage pregnancy. He going in, right? Ain't no all the daddies is in jail. What's going on? And people not liking this, right? So people now start to see Cosby as a sellout. They started seeing Cosby, man. Hey, Cosby sold out. They didn't realize it was always a difference between blacks and niggas. Blacks and niggas. Yeah, Chris Rock said that too, right? But it's always been a thing between the 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 Walking Dead and the Enlightened, right? And Cosby, even though he was a flawed man, as we will later find out, right? When it came to this, his goal was to own this NBC network so he can draw black media the way that he wanted to draw it, right? That was his goal, you know, and he was never able to purchase this. He was never able to purchase NBC. When NBC was for sale, right? And Cosby tried to make that move with a couple other, investors. When Cosby came to them, all of a sudden, it was no longer for sale. It was no longer for sale. And see, the game is ownership, right? And as Cosby wanted to have ownership in this, he would have been able to control the narrative, to create, a powerful platform to give black Americans something to watch and something to become, right? Because we've seen with TV shows like The Cosby Show, TV shows like A Different World, we've seen black Americans watch those shows and become that. And as he was seeing, again, as we no longer were controlling the narrative, we were drawing ourselves as gangsters and hoes and pimps and fighting on Jerry Springer and all this. We was losing out. It was crazy. The people was becoming that. And it was vital for Cosby to have ownership in NBC, right? But when he had the money to buy it, all of a sudden it was no longer for sale. And then, later on down the road, Cosby would catch cases, right? He would catch cases, going back to the 70s, of him doing things that he had no business doing, right? To women in the industry. Many of his co-stars on his TV shows, like Felicia Rashad, the legendary, she didn't believe it. So many didn't believe his allegations, while some did. Some did. But while he tried to take part in this ownership, after that it was a tear down, a media smear campaign of a tear down on this brother, and the Cosby Show would be wiped off from airing even the reruns, right? Ownership. You cannot own in this game. You can play the game, but you can't own it. See, if Bill Cosby was doing what they said they was doing for all those years, that means they knew about it. That means they knew about it. Many people knew about it, right? And it was just something that they would hold on him. And if he ever got too out of line, they just drop it on him. They just drop it on him, a smear campaign, and tear him down. They would tear him down. Through the smear campaign, the media smear campaign is, you want to create black positive images. Well, we gonna air out all your dirty laundry. How about that, nigga? Right? Stay in your place. Stay in your place. Can't own this. right? Now we got to look at Diddy, right? We're going to shift to Diddy because Diddy is another black man who gained a lot of wealth working with this company called Diageo. And I was the first one to break this story, by the way, on my ex, right? He was working with a liquor company called Diageo, right? And they made Diddy a very, 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 very wealthy man. Made him his first billion, right? And for many years, they knew that Diddy was into all kind of freaky, freaky things that he had. Diddy have his own fetishes, right? Every man got his thing, you know what I'm saying? But Diddy had his thing, and they would watch him, you know. He's a partner, he's a wild dude. Yeah, you see what he into? So yeah, if he ever get out of line, goddamn, we gonna spank him. Right? Never get too big on New Jack City. They said never get too big. Nino thought he was too big, so we had to spank him. That's what the Italians said, right? We had to spank him. He thought he was too big. So as they put all this money into Diddy, selling liquor, right? Selling Ciroc and selling liquor and all this, Diddy gets to the point where BET was owned by Bob Johnson, and then Bob Johnson sold it to Viacom. He sold it to a company called Viacom, and I believe 2002 or 3, right? 2 or 3, maybe even 1. He sold it to Viacom. And when Viacom owned BET, that's when you started losing some of the things that I grew up watching on BET, like the HBCU football that started to leave, 106 in Park took a turn, BET Rat City was gone. You lost some of your stuff. You lost some of your predominantly black, your love for the black shows, it was like they was gone, right? And that was because Bob Johnson no longer owned it, right? But BET became for sale again, right? Viacom wanted to sell BET, right? Gotta understand this. And I believe it was 2023 they wanted to sell BET. And Tyler Perry and Diddy, like I said, Diddy and Tyler Perry get together to try to purchase BET. They wanted to purchase BET. And they said BET was for sale. And Diddy said he had the money, right? Diddy and Tyler Perry had the money. And I think it was a couple other investors. And when they went to buy it, it was no longer for sale. It was no longer for sale anymore. This was 2023. Now, Diddy, with his money, had bought Revolt TV, right? And Revolt TV was a company, was not as big as BET, was not as popular as BET, but it was showing that, Diddy, he's ambitious as far as owning, and then he keep talking this black excellence talk. And he want to buy BET. He bought Revolt TV, but now he want to buy BET. And at his 2022 speech, right? At his 2022 BET Award speech, he's talking about black ownership, how we need to create black shows and we need to create black, and we need to fix this. He's talking like Cosby did, right? He's talking like Cosby did. He's giving millions of dollars to HBCUs like Cosby did, right? And he sets out to buy BET, but when he goes to buy BET, all of a sudden they say like NBC told Cosby, it's no longer for sale. No longer for sale. So now all of a sudden they're telling Diddy, no, you can't buy it. But I thought it was for sale. But no, you can't. But not to you. You can't own it. See, Diddy wanted to get that so he can draw depictions, right? Some will push back on that and say, I don't know about that, man. I don't know, because Diddy don't have that reputation. Maybe I'm being a little too optimistic for Diddy, Maybe I am. But whatever it was, Diddy wanted to control the image, right? Of black Americans a little bit more. And when he went to buy BET, they told him no. And then when he sued the liquor company that made him all these billions, for being racist towards him, not too long after, an 8-year-old video drops of him beating up Cassie. Right now, that's wrong. But if you had the video for 8 years, why do you hold on to it for 8 years? Don't that sound like blackmail to you? If you really cared, you would release it 8 years ago. Right? This is smear campaign. A smear campaign. Right? Just like Cosby. As Cosby was setting out to buy NBC, it was a smear campaign of people. Yeah, we already knew what you've been doing, but we never said nothing. But if you try to own something, we're going to spill the beans. That's what it seems like to me. I'm not saying Diddy's innocent. I'm not saying Cosby's innocent. Not at all. That's not what I'm saying. Don't think emotional, think logical. What I'm saying is that it's possible that they collect the dirt on these men, and when these men get too powerful and try to own and try to control, they drop all the dirt on them that they've been holding for years. And it puts them away. It takes them out. Right? Business is war. Business is war. Right? You have to understand that business is war. Anytime a black clothing brand gets too big, a white company comes and buys them out. Buys out that competition. In the words of Vito Corleone, we make them an offer that they can't refuse. This is why Kanye was mad at Virgil, right? Kanye and Virgil creating something big, They got something going, and then Louis Vuitton comes buys out Virgil. Kill the competition, buying them out. Tidal becomes a threat, buy Jay-Z out. This is the game, man. This is the game. Ownership. And since blacks don't control anything, you remain at the bottom. You look at black TV shows like The Baddies, Love and Hip Hop, Atlanta Housewives. You look at the black music, and what is it? It's black materialism for white brands. It's about slaughtering each other, sleeping with your man's girl. And we no longer have shows like the Cosbys. No longer have shows like the Cosbys, right? We had baby mama, baby daddy culture, right? Which is pushed through the media, right? Pushed through the media, funded through the media. This is what Cosby was trying to get in front of, right? The plague now is spread everywhere. There's nothing you can do about it. Your image is damaged. Your image is in the garbage. It's in the trash. And until you own it, until you own something and learn how to create something, right? Where it's not based on keeping it real. It's based on, I'm gonna draw like this so the people become it. That's how you use the pen. That's the almighty pen. Don't have to be real. That's the magic in the pen. So this is why Cosby was taken down, and this is possibly why Diddy is taken down. Can't put it past him. You just can't, because it lines up too similar, right? Trying to buy something, trying to control something seems to be a threat. Seems to be a threat, right? When Jay-Z had the 444 album, and he spoke on ownership, you know, that was a threat. He got in trouble for that. He was talking black wealth with Diddy. They was talking black wealth and giving you the tools. 444 is the album that's really just a tool, a blueprint for black Americans to gain wealth in America, how to get rich in America, legacy, family, insurance, all these things that's inside this album. And what the nigga say? Man, I can't rock with that one. I like Drug Dealer Jay-Z better. They didn't understand the message. They didn't understand the message. I challenge you to go back and listen to that album. You know what I'm saying? Listen to that album with new eyes, with new ears, and you will see that's a black ownership album. And, you know, black ownership seems to be a threat. Seems to be a threat and always has. Fat Farm got bought out. You know what I mean? Got bought out. So, did I say everything that I needed to say? I believe I did. For those that made it to the end of this journey, this build was a long build. You know, I want you to congratulate yourself because in the world today, right? This type of media don't sell, right? The gossip sells, the backbiting sells, the drama sells, you know, but here you are listening to something that's more educational, more knowledge based, more rooted in information, right? That means you are already on your journey. You're already on your journey to separate yourself from the pack, right? And that's a great thing. That's a beautiful thing. And on that note, we out, family. Peace.
We made you. We gave you everything. Sagazis, the spotlight, the street corners. So you got cute. You had to get spanked.